everyone, Editor Matt here, just with a little editor's note before we get into the episode. The audio for this week's episode had some technical difficulties, and so there is some imbalance in the volume as well as some background noise. I tried to remove as much of it as possible, but due to those technical difficulties, I couldn't get all of it, but I did get most of it. You can absolutely hear the guests and the hosts, but there are just those little quirks, and I wanted to give a heads up at the top of the show. But enough about that. Please enjoy this week's episode of the Game Informer Show.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly podcast covering the video game industry. Join us every Thursday for a discussion about the latest gaming news, reviews, and exclusive reveals alongside Game Informer staff and special guests from around the industry. I'm your host today, Alex Van Aken, and I am joined by Marcus Stewart. How you doing, Marcus?
I am wonderful today. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's going to be a great episode, Marcus, because we are joined by Wesley LeBlanc, the once and future informer, the news hound himself. How you doing, Wes?
Hello. I'm excited to be here again. Definitely not recording this episode on a day where I've recorded a different one.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Definitely am not confused about which episode number this is. We are rounded out today by a very special guest, another former informer. This one, the indie informer, Jill Grodt.
Hello,
Welcome
everyone.
back to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's really nice to see everybody's lovely shining faces.
It's great to see you, Jill. How are things? I mean, you've launched a website since we last talked.
Yeah, I did, and that's going really well. Actually, I'm very, very happy with it. Okay, so I'll go back and kind of explain my thinking about this, because obviously I left Game Informer and I just kind of took a summer vacation. Not gonna lie,
That's great.
Had a great time.
Good, yeah.
And when I left, everybody was so lovely and supportive and dropping in inboxes and DMs and messages in general, just saying like, come here, there's an opportunity here, or just in general, just being lovely. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do at that point and how I wanted to continue. So I did a lot of soul searching, and kind of in couple with the myriad of layoffs through the media space, sort of as I was figuring things out, I decided I didn't want for now, I don't want to go back to a big outlet and have that kind of cloud hanging over me of like, am I going to wake up and my job's gone? Or just all the kind of sort of red tape that comes along with having that big name. So I decided to cut out on my own and go indie myself. And I started the Indie Informer, which the name for obviously comes from Van Aken here, who was lovely enough to come up with that in, I think, my second to last podcast here.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Does that mean he's entitled to some of the cut?
Yeah, definitely. Royalties.
We already talked about a 30-70 split. We're good.
Did we? I thought it was 46.
Oh yeah, it was 20-80 or something.
Okay.
But yeah, so I named it that not only because it's a fantastic name, exactly what I wanted to do, and it says pretty much all of it in the title, but it does speak to my roots here at Game Informer and how much I still love all of what you're doing and all of you guys and the people who helped come up with that name and who helped come up with sort of me as a writer and cover of video games. So I wanted to pay homage to that. And so I'm really happy to be back, being able to talk about it and share everything with you guys. And hopefully everyone's excited. And if you want to see some indie stuff, I've got a lot of cool things that are going up on the site.
Yeah.
You do. I just to point people, we'll of course link to the website and the show notes, but it's the-indie-in-former.com. The
Yes.
Indie Informer dash is where you would typically space that out,
Mhm.
and an extra one in between Informer. But we'll for sure link it in the show notes and all that. But this is Jill. I kid you not. I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. I have just like stayed tuned to this website like throughout the week, throughout the weeks really since you launched it, and it's been really cool to see you kind of do your own thing. And I feel like it feels like an extension of what you were doing here, but also you are kind of getting the chance to dive deeper, and kind of without the need for, oh well, you need to go and edit the magazine, Joe. It's like, well, you can just like focus on being a tastemaker.
It is
But
really.
can you still edit the magazine actually?
I'm talking with Miller about some part-time activities. No, not really. That would be horrendous. But good luck to you guys.
Wow. Former employees saying.
No, I
Game
actually
Informer's
always did like
horrendous.
editing the magazine because you got to see what was coming and be really familiar with what was. And then it was very bizarre having my magazine come, the God of War one. It was the first one that I had not been involved in behind the scenes. So reading everything and seeing everything, I'm like, oh, cool, this, and not having any idea what was going to be in there. It was an interesting experience, and it was a really cool experience. But as far as the Indie Informer goes with all of that, it is obviously I tried to sneak in indie coverage whenever I could at Game Informer, but big outlets of all kind of brands have to keep in mind the bigger titles and like readership and viewership and numbers that go along with that. So there was always a certain amount of like, I would like to cover this small game, but it's made by a person you've never heard of, and it's not going to grab a whole lot of viewers, but it's really got this cool like thing about it. And sometimes I got to, and that was amazing. But sometimes, I'd have to turn back and be like, sorry, I can't cover it because I have to be covering, Assassin's Creed or, whatever the big thing is right now. So this website really gives me the opportunity to find something, if I'm interested in it, just cover it and cover it however I want to cover it, when I cover it, whenever. Like, I don't have to be like looking down the barrel of like embargo dates. I don't have to be the first person to have that information out there. I can just be like, hey, this is a thing and people might like it and I liked it and I hope you do too, and just share it and help kind of indie developers get the word out that wouldn't necessarily have as much coverage. And I'm not taking any kind of funding. Like I'm not crowdfunding it in any way, so I'm not on Patreon or anything like that. So it really is, I don't have to worry about like viewership or clicks kind of driving my review, my revenue stream.
Yeah.
So I don't have to go after the things that are going to get the biggest clicks. I do get to just kind of, it's sort of a dream. I get to just like share the things I like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And that's really the goal.
You pulled a lot of cool games because like Van Aken, I've kept my eye on it too, and have, reading either games that I was aware of and excited about, but getting your takes on them, or stuff that like I was less like aware of, like Floodland is one that I'd heard by name, but like reading your thing made me want to check it out.
Dumb raccoons.
Like, yes.
Get out of here with those.
That's really what got me.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is a certain amount of like ridiculousness I can put into articles now, because Game Informer, you have to have a certain level of like formality when you're writing. But when I'm writing these, I can just be like, y'all, raccoons suck.
Yeah, I never knew the side of you.
Yeah, no, they're evil.
Oh, I saw 2 last night. They seemed like sweethearts.
That was the decoy. Who knows what the other raccoons were doing?
Oh, it's like Velociraptor. It's not the one you see. It's the one you didn't know. That was
Yeah.
the one that gets you.
I went to school in sort of a mountainous, hilly region, and the raccoons were notorious around there for attacking people. And one time, great story. Someone actually was trying to throw away their trash. A raccoon was in the bin, jumped out, ran after them, and they hid in the laundry room, like trying to keep the door closed.
I'm like picturing the raccoon like hitting the but they're trying to like it's that strong holding the door.
Yeah, basically.
My father-in-law grew up with a pet raccoon.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous,
it was arrested by the police one time for being a peeping Tom. I swear this all sounds like a movie. Okay.
But I wouldn't put it past him.
I thought that was a joke. I thought that was like a punchline, and I was like,
I was trying to work it out. Like, what's the pun there?
I'm like,
no,
like, Tom sometime.
Yeah.
Or?
The raccoon literally got taken into. They knew it was the pet raccoon of my father-in-law, and so they didn't take it to animal control, but they did lock it up some way until he could come and get it, because I guess a lady called in saying there's a peeping Tom outside. And it was the raccoon. Yeah, I swear to God, this is the story that
I absolutely believe.
Whether it's factual or not, it could be like one of those, fishing stories.
Yeah.
And I think he did indeed have a raccoon.
And the moral of
what was
story,
the raccoon's name?
Oh yeah, what was the raccoon's name?
I don't know. I'll text Kayla and I'll see if maybe during the show. What was your dad's raccoon's name?
I like how you're texting no context, just right now. I need to know this right now.
Sorry, Joe, we were interrupting you.
No. Moral of the story is you should play Floodland.
I just wish listened to it while we were talking. I'm also really looking forward to Dredge.
Yeah.
Is that coming this year? Or
no, that's next year. That's next year sometime. But demo was up. I think that it is now gone. It is this really it looks like it's going to be a charming little kind of fishing game, a la maybe like Moonglow Bay, if you've played that. But it starts out and it's got this very ominous tone, and it's kind of hard to put your finger on exactly why it doesn't feel great. Like the beginning cinematic is obviously not spoilers for the very beginning, you shipwreck. So, things aren't going well. But during the game, when you're checking out the town and making friends is not really the right word, introducing yourself to everybody, making acquaintances, going out and fishing and collecting it, and all the fish come out in little Tetris shapes that you have to fit into a limited inventory, and you come back and you're trying to pay off some debt, and it seems like it should all be really nice and lovely, but there's just something off about everything that's just gets under your skin a little bit. You're like, what's going on? And you are warned very early on to not go out after dark. And so we're why not? So I totally did. And you get a little panic meter. And it seems that the longer you are out, or you get more and more panicked, your mind starts to more and more play tricks on you. And you start to maybe encounter things that may or may not be there. So there's an element of psychological screwery. Try to use another word, but I used a different one just for you.
Kind of like amnesia a little bit.
I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of it's very Lovecraftian in the sense of there are things going on and you can't be sure whether or not they're actually happening or not. And I'm very, very excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, that's a very good description of the game. I just looked at the screenshot on Steam with the giant fish with a red eye and gnashing teeth, and I was like, "Yep, looks like a scary game."
I think it will be a good
with
game.
thalassophobia.
Yeah, it'll probably be a good game for anyone who wants to kind of get into the spooky vibes, but not they don't want to be full on like amnesia or PT or something along that
Yeah.
line.
Well, cool. Well, I mean, all that to say, you've been very busy over at the Indie Informer website.
I haven't.
Of course, people can, if they want to follow you, can follow you at Finruin, FINRUIN, and you've got the links to IndieInformer.com all in your profile. Great way to find it. Everybody go and bookmark it. Go back to it daily because it is. I feel like you almost have something up every day. Maybe.
Oh, I have something up every day. I've got.
Yeah.
When this publishes, I'm gonna have my first review up. So
Oh.
I don't know if I can say what it is, but if you've been watching the site, you might have a hint as to what it could be.
Okay.
Ooh,
Well,
I think I know.
go check that out. In the meantime, we did bring Jill on today to talk about the best indie games of 2022. No, this is not going to be every indie game that has come out in the year. This is more so our personal favorites that we've had the time to play. And of course, the year is not over.
Yeah.
So this is, parentheses so far. We're also going to be talking with Wes about his time playing Scorn. And then Marcus and I are going to talk about Signalis, which is quickly becoming a very cool game in my catalog and one that I really want to jump back into. Like, I put that game down to come record this. It's very cool. Another indie game. It's wild, but we're gonna get into it. We are recording this. I guess I'm not in Tokyo yet, but it's gonna be more of an abbreviated episode. But
Yes.
I guess I'm unsure.
no, like when this
It's
comes out, I
impossible
will
to
be on a
tell.
plane.
It's like, let me check out the window real quick.
Yeah, I'll be
I could
flying to
be
Tokyo.
anywhere.
So we got a lot to cram in here. Shorter episode. Same with next week. We pre-recorded it, but we got a lot of good embargoes coming up. We had a lot to talk about for next week's episode as well. But this week's episode, all about the indie games. I think we just kind of more casually approach this subject. We can talk about some of our favorites. I know Jill's probably going to talk about Tunic. Wes probably is going to talk about Citizen Sleeper. But there's a lot of games out there. We've been playing a lot of them throughout the year. And yeah, I mean, I guess I will, just to kind of, so we can establish the vibe, I can start and kind of go through one of my big favorites from the year, Stray. If you haven't played Stray yet, that is, and also real quick to clarify, we're not really too concerned about, well, what's an indie game? It's published by Annapurna Interactive. I think I told the crew before this, if a game was conceived or started development as an independent title and then, got picked up elsewhere, we're not really too concerned about the details of when they were acquired, who's publishing them, all that. If it, Jill had a good quote earlier before the show started. It's kind of like art. Like if it looks like an indie game or it feels like an indie game, you kind of feel it, and that's kind of the vibe we're going for.
You know when you see it.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, Stray is one of my favorite games of the year. It is, I think, right now sitting behind Elden Ring, number 2 on my top 10 for the year. I really, really like that game a lot. I think it definitely has some issues, but number one, I'm a cat owner, and it just meant that like the story moments that probably wouldn't hit for other people hit hard for me, just because I'm a cat lover, and just it's a good primer for getting into that game, right? And even I feel like I have a heart of rock, like a heart of steel when it comes to other things, but the second you're playing as a cat, it's like the most minor inconvenience, brings a tear to my eye. But yeah, I really love Stray. I think it also has one of the best endings of 2022, in my opinion. I know some people didn't really hit for them, but the reason I like it so much is it kind of gets out of its own way and respects that players are gonna like figure things out. And yeah, I don't know. That game is just really, really cool. Have y'all played? I know Marcus, you beat it, right? Wes, you beat it.
Yep.
Jill, have you played Stray?
Absolutely loved it. I think I think I noticed that thread that you were talking about of like, if anyone's a cat owner who played this game, they liked it like exponentially more because they're like, oh, you put on a little jacket and he fell over, because that's what would happen.
I got in the mail the other day. I was sent the Stray backpack to put on my cats.
Oh,
What?
Yes, I
excited.
haven't put it on them yet. I'm gonna film it, and I don't know if it'll fit on Wilson. It'll fit on Hazel, just because Wilson's massive, but we'll see. But I'm excited to film them in that. So shout out to Annapurna for sending that over. So Stray is my first one. We'll just kind of go. Jill, do you want to pick it up from there? What's one of your favorites?
I mean, you called it out. I mean, Tunic is 100% like my game of the year this year. It has not been unseated. I don't think it's going to be. It is so fantastic. If you've heard me talk about this before, everybody was able to guess my number one. But it really is a game that's like, you have those games that you wish that you could erase your mind and replay again. Tunic is sort of that opportunity with like anything you played as a child. You know, you don't know exactly what to do or where you're going or how it all works together. So you have this sense of like discovery and wonder that you don't get a lot, especially if you're someone like me who plays a lot of games. You tend to see like, okay, I see where this is going, or I get exactly what I'm going to do here. So without needing a huge surprise twist, which they do have some really cool, unexpected beats that happen in the game, the whole time of playing the game is just kind of new feeling. It's like that, you know, being a kid and being excited and not knowing what's going on and wanting to go to your friends and talk about it on the playground. Like, did you see this thing that did that thing? Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that thing existed. We did have a really fun moment when me and Alex Stadnick, and I can't remember who else was on that. We're talking to the developer, Andrew Schuldeis.
I was there.
There, Marcus. We talked about discovering that area where you could change your fox's color. And Marcus, you'd found it right away. I'd only found it during New Game Plus. And then as of that recording, Stadnick had no idea it existed. So it's just one of those really good example of the way the game works, where you really might not find all of it. And by talking with people around you, you might discover more things that you didn't even know existed. So if you have not tried Tunic, please do, because it's so fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I'd recommend, the other day I've been listening to Game Maker's Notebook, different from the YouTube channel, not Game Maker's Toolkit. The Game Maker's Notebook is the interview podcast from the Academy. Yeah, American whatever Interactive Arts and Sciences place. that AIGS or whatever. They put out a podcast called Game Maker's Notebook, and I know Ted Price hosted a lot of the episodes. I think some other episodes are hosted by others. I think Robin Hunicke did some of them. Austin Wintory, yeah, and you know, they interview. It's like developers interviewing other developers, and it's really good. So the first episode I listened to was actually the Andrew Schuldeis episode on Tunic. So go listen to our episode and then go listen to that one. I think they're both like really cool. So Marcus, we'll just go down the line here.
So Norco is one of my picks. It's currently my third favorite game of the year. It was number 2 for a long time behind Elden Ring. But yeah, this is a point and click narrative adventure game, dropped early, like March or something like that, early in the year. And it is a sort of a Southern Gothic sci-fi tale set in Norco, Louisiana, real city. And the idea is that you're this woman named Kay who comes home because your mother has passed away, and you kind of stumble upon a big sort of mystery that she was investigating before she died, and you pretty much just kind of pick up the pieces and try to figure out what she had stumbled upon. Just this weird sort of secret that she found in this town. And what I love about this game is that it blends sort of like the gritty, like Southern vibe of Louisiana with like sci-fi stuff, because, you know, there's like robots and like artificial intelligence, but it's not a sci-fi game. Like, it's just got like sci-fi elements sprinkled over what you could assume as like modern day, like just current day Louisiana. I don't want to go too deep into like the story stuff, but I will say that it's
I've heard it's bonkers.
It is. It's probably one of the wildest stories of the year, if not the wildest. Like, it goes some bizarre places, and like every time some like big revelation happened and you wonder like, are they doing what I think they're gonna do here? And then they go there and you're like, oh, okay, we're doing this. This is wow, okay. But like in a good way. I think that the actual point and click adventure stuff is pretty well done. It's not like the most challenging game in the world, but it's also like what I appreciate is that it's not like obtuse. You know, I think that genre has a reputation of like being frustrating. You're like, I got these inventory items. They want me to combine them in a way that you wouldn't think to do it. This game makes sense at all times. So, you know, it's pretty hard to get stuck. But yeah, the narrative is what pulled me through it. I think the characters are cool. One of my favorite characters of the year is in this game. Maybe, actually not even maybe, the funniest thing I've seen in any video game is in this game.
Wow.
In terms of like I think one of the best moments of the year is this moment. And I can't wait till we get to GOTY discussions and maybe we can talk about it more in detail.
Yeah, I downloaded this on my Steam Deck today before this conversation. And it's like I could complete it on the trip to Tokyo, couldn't I?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like 6 to 8 hours, if I remember correctly. Like you should.
I've got an 11-hour flight, so
yeah.
Is it only 11 hours to Tokyo?
Plus 3. I've got 2 legs, but yeah. From SF, it's 11 hours.
Yeah, it's about what I did too. But yeah, it's I think it's fantastic. It is. I can't remember if it's coming to other consoles. Like they announced it was coming to because it's only been on PC, but it's coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and I believe Switch as well. I think it's either already there or it's coming.
It is not. It's coming because I just checked.
Okay, what was the date?
October 20th.
Okay, so soon then. You know, so if you know, I probably would play this on PC just because of the point and click stuff. But hey, if you don't want to do that, you've got every other option available. But don't sleep on this. I think it's a great game, and like I said, it's my number 3 so far of the year.
Awesome. Wes, how about you?
Yeah, as you mentioned at the top of the show, Citizen Sleeper is my favorite indie of the year so far. If it wasn't for Elden Ring, it would 100% be my game of the year so far. I've talked about it a bunch on the show, and you can read my like full review on the site. I gave it a 9 out of 10, but it's like the perfect mix of a good cyberpunk story, which I think when told well are really well. I really love the idea behind the game, which is like, you know, how much of your body is yours when a corporation essentially owns it and decides what you can do with your body. And it's a really cool, fascinating story element that plays directly into the game's mechanics. It's a very different kind of game. I've never played anything like it. I don't even like know what to call it. It's like a narrative adventure game with a strange dice rolling mechanic. It's one of those games where like when people ask about it, I'm just like, play for an hour and see how you feel. If you like beautiful neon visuals like myself, if you want one of the best video game scores of the year, and if you want a story that you can shift and mold into your own in a very affecting way, then Citizen Sleeper is a game you should check out. They've also been putting out, I think, 2 DLCs, post-launch DLCs that are free, and I have a 3rd one on the way. I'm waiting for all 3 to be out so I can kind of just play it in one go. But yeah, it's not my style of game at all. Like on paper, it's not a Wesley game, and I played it in 2 sessions. It's like an 8-hour game, and I just could not put it down. Really, really great in every way. I have a few qualms with it, but like I probably could have given it a 10 if I was like prepared to make the fight. But 9, 10, whatever, fantastic game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I love that game too. It's in my top 10. I would say if you're to try to get the closest comparison to what this is, it's basically if you enjoy maybe tabletop role playing. Is the closest analog because it is like you're rolling dice to determine whether or not you can do actions like you're presented. Like all the conversations are dice driven. Every action is dice driven. So like if you like D&D or anything like that, I think Citizen Sleeper is worth a look.
Yeah, and if you do check it out, like on today's recommendation, like give it a full solid hour. If you play it in those first 20 minutes, you're going to be really stressed, and it's a lot of information and it's confusing. But like when it clicks, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm in.
Awesome. Well, I'll go next. A game I haven't spent nearly as much time as I want to with, but I think this is going to be a smaller game that people some people maybe haven't heard of before, but I really like. It's called Please Fix the Road. It's like a minimalistic puzzle game, and you are kind of shifting tiles on a map around to fix a road. And think of them almost like Lego Brick Tales or Captain Toad, like these dioramas, these 3D dioramas that you're looking at, and you're kind of just like sorting and placing pieces of a road around to get like trucks trucks to a factory, right? And so you're figuring out, okay, I have limited pieces to play, and I need to get them here. There's some water here they need to cross, and that kind of stuff. It's very casual, but it's like really peaceful and just like really a pretty decent puzzle game. And I've really enjoyed it. You can kind of pick up certain pieces of the map and just like shift them around and like rotate them, and it's a lot of fun. I think there's like over 150 puzzles in the game. There's a hint system if you need it. It's a really cool game. Have any of you played this game yet?
I have not.
No,
I
never heard of it.
hadn't
What
even
is
heard
it?
of it. Yeah.
Where did you play it? Like, where is it available?
Steam. Created by Ariel Drakowski. This is their first Steam release, it looks like. They've got 69 followers on Steam,
Nice.
and about 1,500 on Twitter. So pretty small developer. I think they're from Poland. Yeah, it's really neat. I definitely recommend it. I think it's also Steam Deck verified. So check out Please Fix the Road. I have not sunk nearly enough time, so I can't, give you a proper review or anything. But it's a really cool game that I personally am looking forward to playing more of. I actually also downloaded that to my Steam Deck for my Tokyo trip. My Tokyo trip is just turning into Alex catching up on all the cool indie games he missed. Jill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Marcus.
I was gonna say real quick to shout out Brian Shade. If he was here, I bet he would probably shout out Mini Motorways.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
That is one of my favorites as well.
similar concept.
Yeah.
So I guess on behalf of him,
That game, I got through a lot of hospital days with my dad because of that game. Just when I was in Virginia when he first got hospitalized, I would just go, I'd bring my Switch and I'd play Mini Motorways, and he couldn't talk to me, so I'd just sit there and play that game. And it was funny because I'd look out the window and he's like, sitting his hospital's over top the interstate. So I'd be watching like cars pass by as I'm directing traffic in Mini Motorways. It's a very therapeutic experience, and also just like a well-designed game. I think you can also play it on Apple Arcade, and yeah, that game is really cool. I like it all. It's hard too. Like it's hard to progress really far. I always lose, but very easy to pick up. And if you like city builders or just puzzle games in general, it's even like it's almost like, I don't want to scare people off by calling it a city builder. It is like a city builder in the simplest of terms. It is more so like a kind of a puzzle game where you're building the map up as you go. That is also on my top 10 list right now. Number 7 on my list.
I didn't number
yeah.
my list. Oh no.
I use the GG app. We should really get a sponsorship from them.
Yeah.
I've talked about them so much on the show.
It's a good website.
It is, yeah. And I just kind of use that to track what I've. It's kind of like what's the movie?
Letterboxd.
Letterboxd. Can never remember it. It's like that for games. If you have it, you want to follow me. I'm at It's Van Aken on the app. I'm always looking to follow more people, to see what people are playing.
yeah, in real life.
Exactly.
Just follow them around.
Yeah. Word. Well, who wants to go next?
I'll go since you shouted me out before someone rudely interrupted.
Yeah, for real. What's up with
Brian
that?
Shea.
Yeah. Brian Shay, if you want your stuff on here, you come onto the podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'll go with another one that is sort of an obvious one for the year, but one we haven't talked about yet. Cult of the Lamb is an absolutely fantastic game. It is the central idea is you play as a lamb, very cute, and you're sacrificed to the old gods. But sort of immediately afterwards, another mysterious entity halts your death and brings you back to life in order to build up the worship of that entity, and you start building a cult like you do.
Casually.
It is such a fantastic combination of just adorable like character models and charming world, but also just this really screwed up idea and things that keep getting worse and worse because like as you gain more power corrupts. You start kind of fleecing your flock for things. Sometimes
Murder.
murder, like ritualistic sacrifice of various kinds. You can steal money from them early on, and as
steal, it was a tithe.
yeah, it's a tithe. Yeah, definitely not shaking them down. They wanted to give it to me. And yeah, it is sort of a mix between a sort of Animal Crossing-esque. You sort of build up a little cult's village and manage how happy everybody is, and you're making them food, and you're making nice little decorative sculptures, and dealing with people who start dissenting and throw them in jail or kill them. But then the other kind of section of this is you do have to go off and kill the gods that tried to sacrifice you. So you're running through a roguelite like kind of dungeons, 4 different ones with kind of all different feelings and vibes, and getting to the end and killing off the god and getting a lot of things you can bring back to help you with your cult and managing and feeding everybody and making everyone happy. So it's got this really satisfying kind of gameplay loop, and it's got a lot for a lot of different types of players. And it's just visually absolutely gorgeous. So every time, like every second you're playing, you're just sort of glued to the screen. I would play this and look up and it'd be like 5 hours later and I had no idea where the time had gone. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like pick some berries because I need to make food really fast. And then something would happen that would be like, okay, I did that, but now like there's dissent, so I have to do a ritual to make people happy, and then I can go. And it just keeps going and going like that, and you can never stop.
They're so needy.
Yeah,
those
and
followers.
And weird. You know, you've got it's such a weird humor to it too, where you've got like that one. There's always that one follower who comes up and is like, "Hey, I've always wanted to eat poop." It's like, no, dead.
It's got a real like what was Happy Tree Friends?
Yeah,
like it's got that vibe to it. I finished it about a week ago, and I also really like it a lot. I think I like the. It's funny because when I went into it, I was like really big into combat more than things. I think the actual like hack and slash feels really good. But then as I got into it, I actually started to like the sim aspect more and more. Where I was spending more and more time at the camp, and then getting it, to the point where it was running like a well-oiled machine. Which I don't know what that says about me, that I can run a cult really well. But I think it's kind of like it's like 2 very different styles of gameplay, but they marry together really well.
Awesome. Wes, do you have another? Or who's
yes.
next? Who wants to go next? Sorry.
Oh,
we might be out of order.
I mean, Wes can go.
Let's see. Is this our last round, or are we gonna do another? Because I'm trying to figure out.
We can do that. I'm not too concerned. We can do another. We'll do probably like 5-10 more minutes.
Okay. Then the next game I'm gonna shout out is like right under Citizen Sleeper for me at that number 2 spot, but it's number 3, and that is a game I recently reviewed called Metal Hellsinger. Which is a Doom FPS basically, but you shoot and fire and reload and dash and jump and do everything to the beat of an insanely good metal track, performed by like some of the genres like best vocalists, musicians and stuff. But yeah, it's just like it's the perfect length. Every level is a different song, and they mastered the cadence of metal and mixing it with Doom gameplay as you build up a meter. So like your goal is to get to 16 times, and you do that by hitting shots on beat or reloading on beat or dashing on beat without missing a beat or without getting off time. And at 2 times, you start to hear a little bit of the music. And then at 4 times, more of the music comes in. And then as you make it up to 16 times, that's when the vocals come in and you're finally hearing the full song. And it's just incredibly hype. It's that simple. Like it's a Doom, but you shoot to the beat of music. And if Doom is your style of game, or if metal is something you enjoy, like this is an absolute must play.
You describing an FPS as it's a Doom is like when I was like, he's like playing his PlayStation in there.
I mean, it's like to go a little more into specifics, you're also in hell and you're fighting hordes of demons and you're basically,
we got it. It's a Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Doom. It's a Doom.
That's all you need to know.
But yeah, I mean, there's not much more to it. It's a Doom. Play it.
Perfect. Marcus, take it away.
I'm going to go with a game that I reviewed recently, and that's Tinykin.
Yay!
Which is a game that I absolutely adore. It is basically Pikmin if it was a 3D platformer. You play as a little astronaut who's like the size of like a quarter, and you explore this just plain old house. So it's it's got the little person in a big world vibe, and every room is sort of its own self-contained like open platforming playground, and you solve all these platforming puzzles and environmental stuff with these little creatures called Tinykin. And like Pikmin, they come in different varieties. There's like pink ones that can move stuff. There's blue ones that carry electric currents to corresponding outlets. There's yellow ones that stack together to form ramps. And it is just an absolutely delightful game. For one, it plays really well. Like throwing the Tinykin around, you just aim and just sort of flick them, and it feels real good to just kind of like stack them up or do whatever you're doing. Just like regular Pikmin, I like that they can perform jobs on their own. So if you need like to carry an object across the room, you're like, all right, here, 20 of you guys go do that, and they'll just go about that business. They know where to go, and you can keep exploring and having fun. And it's got a very like old school like collectathon vibe of like, oh, there's like all these like pollen. There's like 1,000 in this room that if I get all of them, I get to upgrade like my hover jump, and they're everywhere. So like every nook and cranny, you're gonna like, oh, there's more here. I'm gonna find these, and it's just so satisfying. And it's just a well-made game. The way the environmental puzzles are laid out, the way the level design is laid out, because it's like it feels like a lived-in space without making the paths or the obstacles feel deliberately laid out, if that makes sense. It's like, no, I could believe that the room was arranged this way. And it's just so good. I ran through it in like 3 sittings. It's not like a super long game. It's like 6 hours maybe. But yeah, it was like, I think it was like the perfect thing that I needed at that time, like something like that. And yeah, it's definitely one that I really hope people don't sleep on. It's on Game Pass, which helps. But yeah, give it a shot. If you're a Pikmin fan and you want like a cool spin on that formula, give it a shot. But even if you've never played Pikmin, I think it's worth playing if you're just a platformer fan.
And visually too, it's just really interesting and like endearing to sort of play as well. Like got like the house itself is done in like kind of more traditional 3D graphics, and the characters are like a 2D hand drawn. So the combination,
like Paper Mario style.
Yeah, the combination is fantastic.
My last one is going to be Roller Drome. That game, I've slept on that game. I just haven't had time to play the full release, but I played the heck out of the build I had, the preview build I had, which was like 6 levels. It was a long. I had a lot of access to the game, but yeah, that is a game that is really high on my list to finish this year, just because it is. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater plus guns.
Yeah.
You are skating around roller derby style, a futuristic dystopian. You're part of a dystopian sports show where like competitors are fighting, robots and military people as part of this big competition that's put on by this big corporation that's just kind of wanting to distract and entertain people from the grim reality of their life. And so it's a blood sport. You are competing against other people, and yeah, the whole gameplay loop is, what if to reload your guns in this game you had to perform tricks, and what if to beat it's just like one big loop, shoot things, reload, and to reload you need to do tricks, and you need to do tricks to dodge weapons from other enemies, and you need to use certain guns to take out certain enemies. It's really cool. It's simple, but it's effective. It's simple in the terms of like you can pick up the idea and you understand it, right? But it's a lot of fun to actually like sit down and try to master.
It gets tough. because
Yeah,
I've picked it up in earnest the past week. I'm on the last tier of stages, and yeah, like once you get a handle on the controls, it really starts to click. Like I love that game, and there'll be nights where I'm just thinking about it, like, oh man, if I did this differently, I might be able to pass. And it's also triggered that need to look cool at all times that I only feel with like either Tony Hawk or stylish action stuff like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. I get really mad when my score isn't like what I think it should be. And it's like, you can't just ride around and shoot people. Like you got to do like 900s while like shooting rocket launchers and then chaining a shotgun blast. And that's the only way to play this game. So you got to look awesome at everything.
And it also has bullet time too. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I think the stages were laid out really well. That game rocks. I feel like that's another one that people are going to sleep on.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also bosses, like bigger fights in that game that are just really cool to see play out. That like and another just the way that they merge skateboarding in like a third person action shooter. They just do it in really cool ways. So yeah, go play that game. Roller Drome. Jill, give me one more.
Okay. One more. I'm actually going to talk about one that came. I think it's coming out today. Hold on, let me double check. Yeah, so it's out today, and embargo just went up, and you should check out my full review on my site. But I want to talk about the Case of the Golden Idol.
Is this the one you were referencing earlier?
Yeah. Did you get it?
I knew it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I played this game originally as a part of Steam Next Fest, and I had my eye on it, but I hadn't actually got to put hands on it until then. And it is like so good. I'm enjoying it so much. The basic premise here is that you sort of play the role as a detective, and you are going through various cases of different murders that have happened. And you're trying to figure out how the murder happened and who killed them and so on and so forth. But there is an interesting connection between all of them that doesn't seem originally to be there. And it's so good. It starts out as like a small sort of altercation between two people, and it sort of snowballs as your cases get bigger and bigger. They like physically get bigger because you have more spaces, more people, more clues to kind of look around. But it also gets bigger on a metaphorical sense because you go from two people to a family now is having problems to a big group is now having problems to you're on the world political stage, and it's all connected to this one thing that you are looking at is the Case of the Golden Idol. And it is so, if you've ever played something like The Return of the Obra Dinn, it's got sort of those visuals and it's got sort of that vibe, but it is a lot more accessible, I think, because Obra Dinn, a lot of the times I just felt dumb. I'm like, why do I not understand what's happening? For this one, it is, you go around clicking different clues and kind of looking through scraps of paper, or like maybe someone's got a weapon on them, or different possessions that people might have, or the way things are laid out in the room. And you can go around clicking things, and you click on different words that you find. So if you've got like a piece of paper, you might find someone's name and you click on that. And then those words collect down at the bottom in a little square. And then when you're in the sort of solving phase of everything, you then have a hypothesis that is just little blanks. It's somewhat filled out, but it's got blanks in it. And you take the words that you got and you put it into your hypothesis. And if you got it right, the game tells you and kind of explains a little bit about what has happened during the scene. And it just has a fantastic way of making you feel really smart while also not being frustrating, which is a very hard mix to hit. And the fact that they're able to do this over and over and over again throughout this entire game is wild. They do have a hint system. I only used it once. The biggest help here is that you can toggle on and off a like highlight system. So if you're not finding the clues, you can hit highlight and the clues will sparkle. so that you can click them. You don't get dinged for guessing wrong. You just keep guessing until you can actually figure out what the hypothesis is. And it just goes to more wilder and wilder places. And the things that you put together, you're like, oh, wow, I saw that. And now I feel like Sherlock Holmes doing the whole, like, this thing wasn't here before and it rained last Tuesday. So, and it's all sort of things like that. But you don't ever have to have like a notebook or anything to be keeping notes, because the game itself will keep that stuff for you and have visual clues and help. So anything that you'd want to take notes for are going to be things that the game is helping you with the filled out part of the hypothesis. So it's all just really fantastic, like really fantastically developed. And like, I can't imagine how smart you'd have to be to come up with all of this and then figure out how to tell people like me how to figure it out without telling them how to figure it out. So it really is, if you're interested in like detective games, if you're interested in like puzzle games, if you're interested in just like kind of a weird, sort of bizarre, good for Halloween-y type game, like definitely check this out.
It sounds so good. I was looking it up while you were talking, and first and foremost, the art style terrifies me.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's really like there's something off about it. It's a kind of lo-fi, pixely sort of thing that for some reason is more unsettling than like just naturalistic graphics would be.
Everyone's heads look like, remember the old, like, those singing raisins from like the 80s? You remember those guys?
Yeah.
In my demo preview, I called the first guy like a McDonald's mascot from hell or something like that. Like, it is sort of terrifying.
I played the demo for it. I think it was the same thing as the Steam Next Fest, but I played it a few weeks before, and yeah, it's like one of those games that I wish I really had the time to play right now, because the demo was so impressive. I played the demo and I immediately had my wife come over and I was like, play through this, because she loves like detective stuff like that, and we loved playing Oberdin together. It's really good. It's very special. And go read Jill's review.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on. We have a few minutes left. I want to talk about Scorn real quick, Wes.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't get to say my fourth game.
Say it real fast.
What is it, Marcus? Say it real quick.
I was gonna say Neon White.
No. Oh yeah. That's on mine too.
Yeah.
I feel like that.
It's my number 2 of the year, so by default, since Elden Ring is number 1, I guess it's my favorite indie of the year. So, at least for now.
It's very high up. I go back and forth on that and Stray. That game is so good. And another game that has really interesting boss fights for what it is. Well, cool. Well, Wes, real quick, is Scorn worth our time? Is Scorn how is
Are we
Scorn?
gonna Scorn? Yeah, Marcus.
Cool, Jill.
So I have not beaten the game. I'm about 6 to 8 hours in. I want to go back and finish it, but I don't have any like assignment to do so. So just on my own time. And right now is a busy season. I don't really like it too much. So correct me if I'm wrong, but like this game was marketed as anything but a puzzle game, right? Like this had vibes of like a shooter or something like that. At least it did for me.
Yeah, it had like horror or something.
Yeah, it was like, because they showed so little of this game. That first reveal was like a mood setting piece where you just saw wet H.R. Geiger stuff.
Ooh,
and then there was that like
so
lengthy gameplay trailer that didn't really, it was not commentary. It was just like, here's a slice of the game, and it was just a dude walking slowly through mazes with guns and touching more wet things.
Yeah.
So moist.
But I think looking at it, and again, maybe this is our fault. I don't know who to blame. Is it our fault or their fault for maybe misrepresenting it? But you think like, oh, like Doom, maybe like a not as fast paced, or maybe like
or survival horror, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
It is a straight up puzzle game. It has some combat, but the combat is not great, and it is extremely obtuse. There's no UI. There's no hints. There has not been a single word uttered. It is environmental puzzles, I guess you could say, but not like particularly fun ones for me. So it's one of those games where they I was looking into some things, marketing around the game, and they like were touting how grotesque and like realistic and like fleshy everything is. And their idea of the game was like everything you do is represented by a real world like action. Like if you pull a lever, you watch your character's hand slowly pull a lever back, and it's very realistic in that way. But it's to a T. And I think they might have focused like a little too much on making everything feel organic and diegetic, because it's super slow and solving puzzles where you have to, like, for example, pull a lever and see if that was the right way. But pulling the lever takes 10 seconds. It gets like, it gets annoying. It's just like, I want to solve this puzzle and now I'm watching this animation again. It's a very beautiful animation and it's well done and the art style is great. But like, I'm tired of watching 10 seconds of this weird fleshy hand pull lever.
Mocap someone.
Squishy flesh lever is
max realism.
Yeah. And then there's combat, but the gun is like not a gun that fires bullets. It has like a rod inside, and when you pull the trigger, it shoots a rod out that comes back into the gun, and it doesn't ever really connect with the enemy. You're just kind of shooting at, I aim at their head, and like the enemy kind of bounces back real slowly, and then you can fire again in a few seconds after the gun's like ready to fire again. Extremely slow combat, not forgiving, and it's not accurate. It's not the right word, but it doesn't feel like it's connecting correctly. And yeah, just my 6 to 8 hours overall have just been like slow and boring, but nothing's happened. I'm just solving these puzzles in this weird flesh palace, and I want to see what is happening.
I want to go to the flesh palace.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's no like dialogue or anything. Like what I'm trying to like.
There was like a cutscene that kind of reminded me of The Medium, where like I'm in this green, very like a very green and black like flesh palace, and then sometimes the cutscenes.
Can we stop flesh palace right now? Can we veto that?
That's my favorite Persona 5 dungeon.
And then it like sometimes it'll show like the same area you're in, but it's like red and kind of looks like Marsy in a way. And then the only other thing that's happened is I have like a parasite inside of me that sometimes just like alien style bursts from my stomach and I fall over. But then you just get up and you keep walking. And I'm like, I don't even know why that's happening.
What happens to the parasite? It just like runs away?
No, it just like opens you up.
Goes back in.
Yeah.
It's just like saying hi.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm here. All right.
Like, are you at that final puzzle yet? Jeez.
I don't know.
That should be the hint system. Like it pops down. It's like, hey, maybe try pulling that lever.
Yeah, I mean, if you want like, I don't know. I don't really know who it's for. If you like flesh palaces or puzzles, maybe give it a go. But I don't think it's particularly great at anything other than making on-screen wet flesh look good.
Cool tech demo.
Yeah, and I think I've capped out on my uses of the word FLESH. So
it's wild because this game was if I remember correctly, this was announced at the showcase reveal for the Xbox Series X, right? It was like
it was
the first Series X games we ever saw. Mm-hmm. So cool tech demo is kind of accurate of like, look at how we can render flesh palaces now.
Playing it, I kind of get why Xbox may be slowed down on marketing it so much, because I've not seen much else about the game.
Yeah, it's wild. I have it installed right now. I have not started it. I'm not enthused, but I'm also just, it's something fascinating about everything you just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're watching this, we have a NGT up now. If this is Friday, is this Thursday or Friday?
This is probably gonna go up on Friday.
Good. Yeah, if it's the 14th, you can go watch an NGT of it, and you'll see the Flesh Palace I'm referring to.
The lever pulling.
So wet.
Yeah.
Wet levers.
Gross.
Signalis. Let's talk about Signalis. This game, I have played 30 minutes of this game. I did not know this game existed until a week ago. And then I was instantly intrigued. It is a Resident Evil 2 style survival horror game, where like the cameras change as you, or is that RE1?
I mean, both.
Yeah, both. It's an old survival horror, inspired by old survival horror games. And you are playing, I'm not really sure who I am. I'm maybe an android. It's a very mystery-filled story. But you kind of crash land on this planet, and you are part of like a space crew, that is out like gathering resources for humanity. You are seemingly part of this like fascist state, this fascist nation. It's like everything for the cause of the country, you know, and it's real messed up stuff that you're dealing with. But it's all rendered. It's like a mixture of pixel art and a mixture of like 3D graphics that are rendering like pixel. Like there are 3D moments. It is clearly like 3D objects in the game, but they have adjusted the camera to render out in a like pixelated style. And then there's also like 2D pixel graphics, and it's kind of switching between these camera styles. So think about like going from room to room, like it's a traditional, like, you know, you're looking down at the characters, they're walking through this space, and then you might enter like a control room, and suddenly it's first person, and you are inputting, like you're solving puzzles or like grabbing items like you would in a survival horror game, right? And you can like rotate them and stuff like that. And so for those moments, it's like these are clearly 3D objects, but the camera is still making it all look like it's part of the same world, right? Because everything is pixelated. And it's just a incredibly stylish game. I think that's what really intrigued me when I first saw the trailer. I was like, oh, this game has an identity. I haven't even played it yet, and I can just see how sure of itself it is, how weird it is, and it seems like you are. I think the creators are based in Germany, and a lot of the game is sort of in like characters in the game speak German, but you know you're seeing subtitles and all of that. But there's also like other symbols. I'm not sure. It sort of looks like Japanese, but there's like flashes of other. It's a game that likes to flash imagery at you, like dreamlike, and like it's a weird game, but it's freaking cool so far. Marcus, I'm gonna let you talk. You played it at Tokyo Game Show, right? You might have more insight into. Do you have any more insight into the creation of this game or who's making it? I kind of just booted it up on a whim and was like, this is really cool.
Not really. I mean, I know just that Playism is the publisher. It was at their booth at TGS. I was aware of this game for a bit. I'd seen it floating around, and I believe it popped up at like a Nintendo Direct or a State of Play, one of the two, for Tokyo Game Show, and that's what really put it on my radar. So when I saw it at TGS, I was like, oh, I'm going to play that. Yeah, I played about the same length, about in the first 30 minutes or so, finished the demo there. And yeah, I'm with you where I'm a survival horror fan. I like the sort of old school vibe it's going for, but also stripping out, at least from when I played, the annoyances of those old games. You know, it doesn't feel clunky to play. And I like the nostalgia of like going for like the sort of like PS1, like early 3D era graphics. It's got a look. But yeah, the puzzles that I played made sense. On one hand, it's what you would expect from survival horror, of like, okay, find a key card, all right, find a panel, it's got a code, find out how they hit this code in this room in whatever clever way there is. But like, it seems to be done well. And like, you know, I need to play more to see how they evolve it. But like, I didn't want to stop playing when I was playing the demo, and that's always a great sign, right? Of like, oh yeah, if you left me alone and if this was longer, I'd keep going.
How does it work as a horror game, given that it's like kind of isometric or 2D or whatever you want to call it? Like is it scary?
I didn't think so, but like this is also the beginning, and I don't know.
I have gotten further than Marcus did in the demo, and the scariness definitely picks up. It starts becoming like very foreboding and like really leaning to that like the psychological tension that comes with survival horror games.
Yeah, a lot of it early on is just like the visual setup and the cues that you as a player are used to feeling when you're in that sort of world. Because I played this for like exactly 1 minute, and I'm like, yep, PS1 kind of horror-y, kind of sci-fi, definitely going to be on people's, you know, playlist, and I'm out. So
yeah.
I wonder how that picks up. Yeah, it's more from when I played more of a mood than anything. Like the monsters themselves, it's like, okay, it's like a polygonal, weird, like abstract looking creature. That doesn't scare me personally, especially when you get a gun and just mow that thing down. But yeah, I hearing you say that it gets like weirder, creepier later on, Alex, excites me. I want to see how can they make that style scary.
Yeah. And to clarify, I'm thinking more about the game and looking at screenshots as I talk. I think the pixel art is for the cutscenes are pixel art. Mm-hmm. Everything else is 3D, but like that isometric PS1 look. But again, it all looks like pixel art, but it's like there's a lot of depth to the world and there's a lot of stuff to see and move around. It's just a weird, very, again, stylish game. It's got a very strong art direction. Whether or not you like that art direction is one thing. I happen to really enjoy that look.
And I want to throw out there too that like full on 2D pixel games can be real scary. Like I just played through a demo of After Dream, and I'm like, I don't know why I did this to myself because now I need to know what happens, and I'm freaked out. So
good.
Yeah, it might be something for you to check out. Check it out on my website.
Sounds like you're ready for Visage now.
No. It does that thing though with the camera, because there's like a camera mechanic where you have to do the flash in order to like see in the room. I hate that so much.
Yeah. But I'm really enjoying that game. I will have more thoughts on that coming soon. I am definitely going to keep playing that game. I'm just really thinking about it right now. I just want to be playing that game. I'm not even like a huge horror guy, but it just is doing what it does so well. And I do like the older, fixed camera sort of survival horror games. I always think those are fun. Well, let's kind of start winding the show down. We're starting to get, I know Marcus and Wes, it's past working hours for them, so I want to get us out of here. But we got a couple questions from listeners. But beforehand, we just want to say thank you for listening to the show. Of course, you can go and leave us a podcast review if you'd like. That really helps us out and gives people kind of a reference for whether or not they should listen to our show. This week's podcast review comes from Forrest Ramibi. They say, the GI crew is one of the most consistent in gaming news. I always count on them for accurate reporting. Their podcast serves as an extension of this, while also giving us a very chill show, relaxed atmosphere that's perfect for background listening. The show gives insight into the personalities of various writers and editors, all of whom bring a balanced, well-rounded take to the proverbial table. Forrest, thank you so much for that nice review. That is a very well-written review, very nice review. Thank you for leaving that. If you're out there, you want to leave us another review, please leave an honest review. Of course, we like them to be positive, but at the end of the day, I don't want you to just go and leave a 5-star review just because I'm asking for reviews. If you have feedback or tips for how we can improve the show, it's a great place to leave them there. You can also email us, podcast@gameinformer.com, with that stuff as well. So let's get to some listener questions real quick. If you want to be part of the show, you can email us, podcast@gameinformer.com, with your questions, or if you want to send in a game, those are fun too. As well as, you can go to our Discord, which you get access to by subscribing to us on Twitch. Let's go. It's a Mama Luigi asks, I played a few levels of Forgive Me Father recently. Any other recent retro style FPS games that you would recommend?
It's not a shooter, but the artwork on Forgive Me Father looks so much like Darkest Dungeon. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, let me look.
I think another maybe modern option, even though it's the recent Wolfenstein games, because even though those are like modern releases, those are very old school design. Like you're still finding health packs instead of auto healing. It's tough as nails, especially the second one. So yeah, if you're a Wolfenstein fan, you really don't get first-person shooters quite like that anymore.
Yeah. One of my favorite FPSs in recent years, and it's a weird, cool genre mashup game. It's called Void Bastards.
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, play Void Bastards if you haven't. That game is really neat. I like that one a lot.
Is Proteus the game you're thinking of? September 23rd is when it came out.
Yes, Proteus.
Oh yeah.
I haven't played it, but I've heard really, really good things about it.
Proteus with a D, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, because Proteus with a T is, I think, like a nature game or something.
That's a good shooter too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Humble Games Publishing Pro DS.
Yeah, that's one I've had my eye on, and again, you're like, oh, I wish I had time to
Yeah.
check this out.
Yeah. Jill, go review that one. That
Okay.
one we need to know.
I'll shoot all the birds, get back to you, and then people will be like, no, the one with the D.
Yeah, wrong one. Jill. Yeah, Proteus. Go check that game out. I've heard good things, and I just wish listed it myself. It's looks very cool. All right, let's move on to the next question. Troidal Power asks, who is the best little guy of 2022 so far?
What does that mean? Like a small
Little guy,
person?
like
Yeah, little
fox,
character,
little
little
fox guy.
protagonist,
So like literally like their
like
physical-
Tunic.
Yeah,
The
it's
little
like
fox.
Tunic's little fox.
When you see it, you know it.
Yeah, he's pretty. The guy from Tinykin, he's like literally
Yeah,
a
he's
little
little guy.
guy.
It's not yet, but still planned release in 2022 is Lil Gator Game, and it's literally in the
Oh,
title.
yeah.
He's a little
Or-
guy.
The cat from Stray, assuming it's a guy.
Mhm,
He's a little
mhm.
guy.
After
Small
a
fry.
suggestion, you have to say he's a little guy.
You little guy.
Little guy.
you have to qualify, yes.
Who's Small Fry?
Small Fry from Splatoon 3. He's your little salmon buddy. And
Oh, yeah.
the Splatoon
Oh,
fandom page
okay.
says, Little Buddy, also simply known as Small Fry, is a new character in Splatoon 3. And I did not know that. I don't know where Little Buddy came from. It's Small Fry in the game, but maybe the community has co-opted Little Buddy. But that's a little buddy, little guy.
That's
Same
okay.
Any character from Grounded?
Oh
would-
yeah.
would
All,
technically qualify?
little
They're all
guys.
small.
I like Hoops. I think Hoops is the best. Well, I just like to say the name Hoops. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
You know
I
who's
mean,
the worst little guy?
Who's the worst little guy?
There are those little like imps from Elden Ring, those little stone
Oh, I
imps.
hate
the
those little
dungeons?
guys.
Yeah.
Those
Get
are
out
the
of
worst.
here.
Yeah. The inverse of this question. They suck. They never stop sucking, no matter how strong you get.
I
Yeah.
hate them so much. Zach Pliggy asks, you and Alex and former Alex are the main event at next year's WWE SummerSlam.
Let's go. You did it.
I need to know your ring gear, promos, entrance theme, if you have an entourage or stable walking out with you, your finishing move, and why it'll be you raising your hand in victory while the former not as saucy Alex lays down in a haze after you beat him with 2 trash can lids.
So this is
And
you
that's-
versus Stadnik?
Yeah.
I guess so.
It
If
seems
that's
like
too much
it.
to answer, then what game has surprised you the most this year?
Well, I think that first one is the one we want.
Yeah. I
All
want
right,
to hear that
all right.
rundown.
What's ring gear, Marcus? Is that just
like your
my
outfit.
clothes?
Little,
Oh,
you wear to the ring.
floaties.
What's your attire?
I'm gonna wear.
Wilson.
Yep, Wilson.
Are you like a boots and trunks guy? Are you a long tights? Or are you doing something maybe? A little
I'm
different?
a
Street clothes?
flashy raincoat. With a trucker hat on, with the hood over the trucker hat. A nice pair of denim jeans. It'd be nice if it was like the stretchy kind, so I can be a little more nimble.
Yep.
Right.
Must have.
And then like a nice, fresh, polished pair of Clarks.
Is that kind
No,
of your
I just-
gimmick? Are you like a trucker? Is that like your character, or like a blue collar guy?
No, it's just like a fashion, it doesn't have to be a trucker hat, maybe a dad hat. I just want to look nice if I'm in the ring, like a lot of eyes are on me. I just kind of want to like have my stuff together,
It's like part of your walking out is you're on the runway. You do.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Blue
I
steel.
I mean, you are coming down a ramp.
I mean, I don't want to be a fashionista or anything. I just want to look nice, presentable, like I'm walking into a job interview, right? But a casual, like business casual, like I take myself seriously, but I'm here to have fun. You know what I
in this
mean?
combat sport. This
Yeah.
This scripted combat sport.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
What's a promos?
Like when you're on the mic, you're talking to people. Like, what are you gonna say? Like if
They have
I'm
weird
the
names for
interview and I'm
this
like,
stuff.
hey, you're facing Alex Stadnik tonight. What do you have to say?
Okay. I'm gonna beat him real hard. That's what I would say.
You might want to rephrase.
Yeah, you might want to.
Oh God, I'm gonna beat his butt
Yeah.
real
you
hard.
go. I was gonna say, this is your chance to show your charisma. This is how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson made his name.
I'll look to the crowd.
Got a
And-
catchphrase?
Are you aching for some Van Aken?
Yay!
Yeah,
Okay.
that's-
Okay.
yeah.
That's a good.
That's
That's,
actually-
good.
premium.
We're getting there.
I've heard worse than that in real life. So I mean,
Yeah. So then they would go nuts. They go wild.
oh yeah.
Naturally, yeah.
My entrance theme is Olivia Rodrigo. Driver's license, I think. And we'd all just
Sad boy
vibe.
vibes.
Yeah, sad boy vibes. There would be tears shed in the audience. Who's my entourage? I guess y'all would be my entourage.
Yeah, if we're like a faction.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's a
guess you-
stable? Like a stable of people?
It's a faction and a stable is the same thing.
Okay, okay.
Interchange.
Are y'all down to like fight on my behalf? Like you down to
I
rep
guess
me?
I guess you'd be the villain in this because usually stables are a bad guy thing.
What if it's just like supportive friends?
I mean, there have been good guy stables, but almost like 9 times out of 10, it's a villain. Because the idea is like, oh, you have a stable because you're gonna cheat and use the numbers to gang up on it.
Oh no, I just want y'all to watch.
Yeah,
I
no,
want
we're
y'all
just
to
here
watch.
to like tell you you're gonna
Supportive.
do it.
Okay,
You know, you've
Yeah.
got
Be a good
this.
guy.
Don't
Yeah.
give up.
We can like throw
Uh,
you the chair or the ladder when you need it.
See,
Yeah,
that's
maybe just like
cheating.
Oh, well,
maybe just like
Unless there's no rules in this match, if it's no disqualification, then it's with them. But,
you know, y'all are just there to be like, good job.
do we have a faction name? Most factions have names. You got the NWO, you got Degeneration X,
AXI.
AXI.
Yeah.
What's that stand for?
I don't know, but it sounds cool, right?
Okay.
Okay,
True.
we'll figure it out later. You
Yeah,
come up with
yeah.
it sounds
Yeah.
cool, and then you fill in the gap later.
AXI.
We can make it like a Emperor's New Clothes situation where everyone thinks that they know what it means, but no one does.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like CM
perfect.
Punk. Every time they
People
do-
will like start like thinking about it, like speculating on Reddit. We'll find the best answer and just be like, yeah, it means this.
That's what CM Punk did for years.
My finishing move. Ooh, it had to be some sort of like choke out.
Nice, like rear naked choke, maybe, or
Yeah. What's one where I get behind them and I put my arm around their neck and just like, "Argh."
yeah,
Just straight
like
up
a-
sleeper,
choking
like a
somebody.
sleeper.
Just choke him.
I mean,
Show him a
there's
picture.
been plenty of choke.
Okay, I got it. I'm gonna raise my leg up and kick them in the chest, and they're gonna fall back against the rope. I'm gonna come to meet them when they bounce off the rope. The inside of my elbow is gonna be waiting for their neck, and I'm gonna scoop them up and put them in a sleeper.
So Static's probably gonna die. He's probably gonna die. That sounds.
Oh, I forgot I'm
pretty
fighting Stadnik.
It's-
You're gonna be reaching pretty high to get.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Recreate
like,
the
hanging off of him like a child, like a koala.
Hey, I'll do what I need to do.
recreate the Minneapolis skyline and get him weepy.
Yeah, I'll be seeing stars. And yeah, I think that's my answers.
I'd pay to
Watch out,
it.
Stadnik. I'm coming for you. Last question. This is for Jill, it seems like. Elijah asks, what does she think edutainment games need to do to evolve and stay current like they were in the 90s?
There were a lot of fun in the 90s. I think a lot of that has to do with the time because you didn't have a lot. Like when I was a child, you could play the games that were coming out that year, you know? So you really didn't have a lot of choice. What do they do? You just make them be games and like slide the education in. Don't try to like make it just ham-fisted like I am an education game.
Yeah.
And that would probably work. Just make good games. Is that good advice? Just
Yeah,
make good games.
that's a good answer.
Assassin's Creed does really cool stuff. Their discovery
Yes,
tours are
their
always
discovery
really
tours.
cool. I
Question.
know in schools in my area, back when I worked at a local newspaper, I did a story on a coding class. It was like an elective, and it was all done in Minecraft. I've never gotten that good at Minecraft, where you start to do the electronics and build calculators and all that kind of stuff in the game. But like, they did everything in Minecraft, and I thought that was really cool.
You reminded me of something, Wes. One Dreamer. Have you heard of that game? It's an indie game about making an indie game. You're like playing a burnt out developer, and
Well,
you like
Not awesome, but it sounds like a fun, an interesting premise. Not the
you essentially
burnt out part.
the mechanics are you are learning to code, like you're learning the basics of C# essentially.
I wonder if any game like that would qualify, like something like Quadrilateral Cowboy, or
Like I just did a quick thing for retro gadgets. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer for that. It got announced recently, where you are literally just sitting in your virtual work desk space and building like Game Boys and technology of that sort. So like that probably would be a good version of this, but it's not really meant for children as far as I can tell.
I wonder if they still make them. Did you guys like? I had a computer lab class to do every day in elementary school, or like a resource class is what they called it. And we had like all kinds of edutainment computer games. I was like a detective dog solving math problems. There was one where I was a turtle running to town.
The
Good
turtle.
times. They still have those in schools, I wonder.
I'm sure they do. They're trying.
Back my day, yeah, Oregon Trail.
Yeah, yo.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah.
Carmen San Diego were probably the two big ones.
Oregon Trail now being made into a musical.
I saw that.
Or like I
According to
remember a lot of
Deadline.
the like typing games that would help you type faster.
Typing of the Dead, does that count?
Why not? Let's throw that at children, very young, as young as possible.
You want to survive these zombies? You better spell these words.
You better hurry up.
Kerbal Space Program, I feel like you have to learn
Oh,
Oh yeah.
in that
yeah.
game.
yeah. That's actually, there has to be a university using that, right? Because that uses like real world like physics and stuff.
Yeah, maybe it's less about the games, more about like more teachers and educators and people in the education system need to recognize when games would be good for.
But I think, yeah, to your earlier point, Wes, that the Discovery Tour stuff in Assassin's Creed is like the biggest like this is blatantly educational
Yeah.
Yeah.
example I can think of. And I think those are cool. Like I like touring those things. When
Yeah.
they drop one.
It's nice because they add it to a game that feels and plays great. Like
Mhm.
Assassin's Creed is a fun time on the controller, so then throwing in a fun tour works flawlessly.
What if you did that for Call of Duty, like their World War II games or whatever? Or like, hey, you just can't shoot anyone. We're gonna walk around this level and be like, this was a real thing.
Except that's the same level that you just played through and killed everyone.
The bodies are still on the ground.
Yes.
These are
Yeah.
yours.
You get to learn empathy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for the show this week. Don't forget to go and follow everybody here. You follow Jill at FinRuin on Twitter. Go check out her new website, The Indie Informer.
And cheer for me next Monday. I'm going to be on MinMax's Tower Trivia All Stars against the major opponent is also in this podcast.
Yeah, I guess you're like defending champion, huh?
Yeah, you are.
I am. Jill's coming for the crown.
I'm coming for it.
22 other games media folks.
I have to root against you this time, Marcus. I'm sorry. You got to be taken down.
I
No.
said this on social media, but you should cheer
One.
for me, but like put money on Marcus.
You and Jesse Vitelli are two trivia heads.
But here's
I
the
think.
thing: it's not just video game trivia; it's Ben Hansen video game trivia.
That's true.
Yeah,
You can't
So
prepare for-
the last time I played this game, he made us try to recognize a arcade game by the sound it made when a quarter got put in it. And I'm like, I am not old enough for this category. I have no idea.
Yeah, people ask me like, "Did you study for last year?" It's like, no, because it's Ben.
Yeah,
It's like there's no way. Like I can't predict how he's gonna. Like you just go in and just
You just
hope for the best.
watch everything that Hansen's ever talked about for video games, and then you're
Yeah.
good.
Well, yeah, go and follow Jill, the Indie Informer. Go check out MinMax Trivia Tower this coming week. Go follow Marcus at Marcus Stewart 7. Follow Wes at LeBlanc Wes, LeBlancWes. You can follow me at It's Van Aken. That's gonna do it for the week. Share the episode with a friend. Leave us a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.